Welcome to the Percussion Podcast out of Louisville, Kentucky. My name is Kay Michelle Lewis, and I will be your host for today. Our guest this afternoon is Mary Tolena from California. Welcome to the show, Mary.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're here because you've been out there doing a lot of different things for the drum circle community to help individuals out, keep their rhythms flowing within the community. So really appreciate all the work that you've been doing out there. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Gosh, well, when I knew you were going to be asking that question, I had to say, how do I give the shortest possible answer? And basically, I grew up in the 60s in Minneapolis with this sort of leave it to beaver childhood. But what I saw as a child was my parents doing things with groups, with their groups of friends. And they'd have parties, we'd go to the beach, we'd go to resorts in the summertime. Things happened when my parents got together with their friends. And so then when we moved to the Seattle area, I ended up with a good group of friends in junior high school. It was actually kind of a Wonder Years experience if you go back to that TV show. But again, seeing the power of groups, how much we could create and have fun and just do together, and how the benefit of each individual contributing to the good of the whole really made life so much better for everybody. So I just kind of grew up with that as a default way of thinking. And I've been trying to do that with other groups ever since throughout my high school years and adulthood. And so I had various degrees of success with that, with the different groups that were more aligned with me. I got into the business world, into the industrial business world, in fact, through my family business with customers like Caterpillar and John Deere and, big industrial companies like that, which is a whole different world. And it was tough. It was very tough. I learned a lot, but lots of ups and downs and challenges. And they weren't quite so amenable to this idea, my ideas bringing in about group experience and stuff. But I was able to do a lot along those lines with our employees. So that was rewarding. But by the early 2000s, I was really coming into a crunch of drama and trauma with the family business. But luckily, right before that, I had met Arthur. I had discovered the drum circle facilitator world. And so for me, who'd always been looking at ways of collaborating and creating and figuring things out with groups, suddenly all these people doing it with drum circles, and the idea of facilitating that, helping it happen among a group was like, oh, I have found my tribe. These are my people. And so that dream of doing more and more along the lines of drumming is what really pulled me out of the challenging times I was in the early 2000s to where I could actually finally walk away from all that and really devote my life to the drumming path. So I feel very lucky about being able to do that, and here I am.
Awesome. Yeah. Can you remember the first time, like with Arthur's drum circle experience? Like, do you remember that time?
Yes, I had just discovered the drum and had started taking lessons in Seattle with Simone LaDrumma. Many of you know her, and Bill Matthews is another primary teacher in Seattle back then, especially. So then I heard about Arthur's 3-day workshop. He brought it to Seattle in I think 98 it was. And so I went, and that was the first time I'd met him, first time I'd seen the whole thing, doing it in front of me. I met people like John Hayden and Shaker Man, some of my best friends. That's where I met them at first. So it was really, and I heard about Hawaii. He had talked about Hawaii, and I was able to go to Hawaii then in 2000, and that's where I really felt like I had entered the community.
Yeah, that's, I hear a lot of people talking about going to these different events, and they just have this moment of like just falling in love with drumming and falling in love with drum circle and the community aspect of it. And,
I actually remember a really deep moment like that at that first play shop. It was at the community circle at the end, when we invite the public in. And I stepped in to facilitate, and we were in this really cool room with a curved roof, curved ceiling. And somehow I got things going, and there was drums and shakers and everything. And I started hearing voices. And I was like, what's going on? I got to keep myself grounded. What's happening to reality here? And so I just finished and sat down, and in our talking about it afterwards, Arthur said, "And did you hear Mary brought the voices?" And I went, "What? He heard it too?" Yeah. And of course, now we know that's a phenomenon that happens. But that first time it happened to me, I thought, wow, I am really meant to be here.
Yeah, it's a very magical moment. All of it, just, getting to meet people that have and share the same type of heart for this world.
Yeah.
Just the sharing of the rhythm and the spirit of the drum. It is a very magical experience. I had an amazing experience in Hawaii when I went.
Okay.
And yes, I remember it, like just talking about it, it just fills my heart with joy. Yeah, it's a magical experience. Wow. And lots of people, and you don't have to go to Hawaii to get that experience. Lots of people all over the country are doing this, correct?
Right. Yeah, and so to come into this community of people who are spread out all over the country, all over the world, but all connected with that desire, and serve that community and help it be more that it can be, that's been such a privilege.
So can you talk more about why you're so passionate about it? Because I can see it in your face right now. You're smiling, you're lighting up. Why are you so passionate about this drum circle community?
Well, because we all serve that primary value of mine, which is to help groups discover higher potential and help them discover the joy of working together, imagining together, and help it actually happen. The power of doing it through music and bringing in experiences where people accomplish something together that they never imagined they would even try, let alone do, that's a really enlightening moment. And, nothing can happen in terms of change and improvement and healing and until people release and allow change. And so that bringing people together drumming and allowing them to just come into that moment of, what am I going to do now to express and contribute to the whole? It's such an important life lesson. And to do it through music and art and joyfulness is just so great. So I feel like I want to be a multiplier, as supporters to help everybody amplify what they're doing out there in the world with all these amazingly varied different populations. So I just think we're really carriers of important magic in this time, especially in this time. And so I just want to contribute where I can.
Absolutely. And I so appreciate you wanting to do that. There's so many people out there really, really going after it, really trying hard to multiply, as you said.
Yeah.
So, you came from a background that, it sounds like it wasn't music specific. And so you got into this. And so can you talk to people about, like, you don't have to be a musician to really get the full amount of potential out of this and to be your true authentic self and explore these new avenues of rhythmic music making. You don't really have to be a music educator. You don't have to be a music certified person. Can you talk about that from your perspective?
Yeah, sure. Yes, I had always liked music. Music was really big in my growing up years, the whole rock and roll scene and the cultural importance of all of that. So I was always tuned into it. And I did learn piano as a kid, thank goodness. So I had some music theory, but I certainly hadn't been playing an instrument or, cultivating myself as a musician at all. The linkage I found is that once you understand what's the processes, the facilitation and the drum circle dynamics, as a facilitator, it is really important to build your sense of rhythm. So that just basically, feeling grounded, feeling like you know where you are, feeling like you have a sense of the one in the circle, so that you're operating from a sense of knowing where you are rhythmically before you try to do something. That's the most important thing, and that is really important to cultivate if someone comes into this without that already in place. But that's it. I mean, we're really trying to get people to entrain, to come together, to play along in the same pulse, So just to embody that, to show it, and to then understand ways to facilitate people coming into it. And certainly picking up practice, taking drum lessons. We should definitely be cultivating that music, that drumming and percussion and other musical activities side of ourselves for sure. But yeah, you don't have to come in with a long history of music to be able to do this if you're really dedicated to what it takes to facilitate.
Yeah. All right. So you attended the Drum Circle Facilitators Guild back in February, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And this event, I have not had the privilege to go yet. I'm going to put YET on that because I've been wanting to go for like 3 years now.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to go. Well, when we have it the next time, I'm going. That's on my list. But you were there in February, and then you saw like our world change very quickly. COVID-19 comes along, and then boom, everything changes. What was your response, and what is your current thinking about where we are?
Well, that was really a very amazing, disorienting few weeks there. Going from the high point of the Drum Circle Facilitators Guild conference in Arizona, which was preceded for 4 days by the Arthur Hull's America's Trainer Group, Train the Trainer with Arthur and Jim Bono and 17 great people from around North America. So I'd been there like 7 days by then, and the power of what we're doing and our facilitation methods and the strength of the community, which radiates out from those people to everyone else they know around the world, it just really felt like a high point. And so then as we left there, and as I traveled in Arizona and into California, and all this stuff started to unfold, it was clear early on as I saw the trends that this was going to have a dramatic effect on our business, on these sort of events that we do. Like boom, right? Everybody, it just stopped. And so I thought, oh my God, how devastating, how everybody's feeling it at the same time. It's so disorienting. What can we do? Well, one of the things that I love most about this community is how we have, over the years, shared our information with each other. We've come together to learn from each other, not just the teachers, because we're all figuring it out. Even Arthur, he would say, we're all figuring it out together and sharing our information. So I knew one of my sayings is collaboration is our superpower. So time to do that. We're all about creating collaboration within our musical groups, and it's really a core identity of who we see ourselves as a profession. So let's turn it up to 11 here, because we really need each other to get through this, to discover what can we do, through a bunch of experimentation, people doing things online. That started happening right away. And that was really exciting to see. Christine Stevens launched a series of calls about sharing techniques, musical techniques that work back and forth on Zoom. And then people started trying it and getting their experience and reporting back what worked, what didn't. So I just saw myself as helping in that role of creating online gatherings to share some of that. I helped Christine and just encourage people, do it, report, let's pay attention and really learn from each other. The other thing that we don't know yet, but is starting to happen, is what now? As things start to open up, people start coming back together slowly. It's too early to tell today, but I want us all to be paying attention. Where are the opportunities? How do we offer our services to help heal what has happened? Society has been so separated so suddenly and so universally. We are all different. We all will be different in future weeks as we start coming back together. And how do we meet each other in the workplace or in our other types of groups, in the classroom, how do we re-meet each other in a way that really allows healing and coming together in that new moment? And I just think that our work can be so important with that. If we can get in front of decision makers who would evaluate, yes, come in, or yes, do it online. So the more we pay attention to what's the new version of what we do, the quicker we'll be able to get back to work. So that's been the nature of the discussions I'm trying to encourage people to have.
Yeah, and the discussion about what it's going to look like next is that'll be interesting. That'll be very interesting how that all unfolds. And yeah, I'm just grateful that, you know, people are still out there drumming, you know, no matter what, you know, like I have friends that, you know, we'll do like Zoom calls with each other and just drum, you know, and I have friends that, you know, one or two that come over, but they're 6 feet away, you know, we're far apart, but we still, you know, it's small, it's tiny, but it's still happening. Right. And I'm grateful that there are people that are still doing these, you know, getting these groups together, because the rhythm needs to keep going, needs to keep flowing. That vibration within us moves through us and it goes beyond. Really grateful for that.
Yeah, exactly. And like you were saying there, doing it, even if it's online, even if it's rough, even if it's not really synchronized, doing it is so much better than not doing it. And as far as a whole area of service, a whole profession, you know, if we just kind of waited on the sidelines and waited for society to come back and, okay, call me back for your drum circle, that's going to be, one, a long time from now, and two, no guarantee that would even happen. You know, people are going to be off dealing with a million different priorities between now and then. So we really have to stay part of the conversation, and the experience of offering any sort of rhythm process online. It reminds people that it works. It reminds people that it feels good. It reminds people that, yeah, this isn't great, Zoom isn't the best, but at least I'm feeling something, and I definitely want to get back to that when we can do it in person.
Absolutely. Absolutely it does.
That's our mission.
Absolutely. I've experienced that firsthand and say yes to it all. All right. So I wanted to also ask you, how do you think that the facilitation, or, you know, because you've seen people that have been facilitating drum circles online, like through Zoom or Facebook Live or with whatever version that you've seen a lot of them. How has it changed? Like, how has drum circle facilitation changed since the hit of COVID-19?
Well, a lot, of course. The two main platforms seem to be Facebook Live, which is good for broadcasting out and just inviting people to play along with what you're doing. And that can be very fun, especially if you can have more than one drummer there, like Jenny and Aaron did yesterday. Because they, you know, little drumming dialogue, and there feels like something to play with. Katie Gowan does this as well. Then the other way is Zoom, where it can be more interactive. And then you're dealing with the time synchronization challenges. Zoom is good, like you were saying before we got started here, Michelle, Zoom is good for teaching. So if you're teaching patterns and, you know, just wanting to do more of a back and forth call and response or teaching process, that actually works pretty well. So we've had to adapt, certainly, and kind of lower our expectations about the audio experience, which of course is really important in an in-person event. That's what we form an audio connection, of a direct sound wave vibrational connection. So the other thing that's great to include on a Zoom platform, for instance, is time for people to check in and say hello and acknowledge each other and just reinforce their sense of community, whether they know each other well or not. But just the chance of coming together and saying hi and kind of reaffirming, yes, this is important, we want to keep this going. That's, I think, giving more, as much as what's needed in these times as the actual drumming part, given the limitations of the platform.
Absolutely.
So to step into, you asked about how has facilitation changed. What that means to me is that we've stepped into a larger sense of what it means to be a facilitator. Arthur's slogan is facilitating human spirit, and doing it through drumming and music goes a long way down that road. Well, there's other ways too, the conversations, the interesting questions, the reflections, the meditations. Those are all ways to lift human spirit through rhythm. And these times are giving us a challenge, like, okay, what am I going to add to my repertoire, to my approaches to helping that happen among groups? And how can I experiment with some, non-rhythmic, non-drumming sort of things to round out the experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably expanded people's idea of what facilitation is. So when we do get back together, all these things may look a little different when we're sitting side by side. Maybe, I just have noticed with my personal teaching that I've, certain things that maybe I didn't do before, now I'm doing. And so it's kind of, I feel like this whole thing is making me a better teacher. So, some of these strategies that people are using right now in facilitation, they might not have done before in person, but maybe that's something they're like, hey, that's a good idea. Maybe I'll do that in person because that worked. So I don't know, new ideas are popping up, which is great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, facilitation means to make easy, obviously. So we want to make it easy for these relationships to happen, relationships of sound, of music, of emotional connection, communication, idea sharing. It's all about making it easy for relationships to flourish. There's lots of ways to do that.
Yeah, awesome. So when you hear the words power of percussion, what does that make you think of or feel? What does it make you think of or feel?
Well, it's interesting. What that makes, I love percussion, and I love the whole idea of percussion. The word that I resonate most in this thing that we do here is rhythm. And something I offer to people in my classes to think about what rings most strongly for you. Is it drumming, the power of drumming, where you really are about that experience and sharing it with others? Is it about rhythm, more of a general, conceptual thing, relationship here? Is it about music in general, music as a whole? And percussion is kind of a fourth one of those. Is it about percussion? And so when I think of that word, I think of the variety. I think of the just everything from the deepest bass, from even a timpani, a kettle drum, all the way to the the little shakers and everything in between, and the textures and the layers that can happen, and where even among a whole bunch of loud drums, the can be so important in the overall experience. So that's what turns me on about percussion. And I just love that, and love that all of that is so approachable as well, with people that have never played before.
Absolutely. Yeah. Those, we were talking about the shakers and all the accessory percussion. When you have a bunch of drums going, and then all of a sudden somebody just adds that, it's like this little bitty sound, but it makes the whole thing just come alive, so drumming and percussion and rhythmic music making, you don't have to play a lot of notes to make it sound, which is really great. That's the beauty. That's the communication piece, where you're listening to each other and you're just like, fit this little part in into the perfect place. It's very soothing and powerful at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. So do you have anything else that you would like to share with the community?
Well, let's see, things coming up. I'm going to be releasing the videos and workbook or slides from our recent online presentation about Zoom skills, Zoom hosting skills for rhythm facilitators. Jim Bono and I did a class last week that I'm putting out more for the public this coming week. And the other thing is, I have some other projects kind of in the works. I want to invite people to go to my website and get my ebook. I think you'll find it interesting in these times. It really kind of boils the rhythm ideas down into what their essence is, so that you can see how to apply them in different situations, including online or whatever you're working with now. Yeah, that's just a cool little.
Your ebook is great. I do have it, and so I want to say yes. Go grab the ebook.
Right.
That's great information.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, like any other events that are coming up that you're hosting?
Nothing's on the calendar at the moment, but keep watching. I'm definitely active. I'm kind of between projects right now, so I don't have anything to announce quite yet, but definitely things are in the works. I'm really dedicated to keeping these conversations going, to help us understand how to come out of this and get back out there in the world. There have been really encouraging signs that people who have done that and stayed active are starting to get some return and some customers coming back and things like that. So definitely it's worth it. And let's share that information and support each other, and we'll be back getting the world drumming again.
Yes. And is there a place that people can follow you at, like media sites and websites and things like that? Can you tell us about where to find all your information?
Yeah, my website is marytolena.com, and you can find me on Facebook, Mary Tolena, as well. And my group for facilitators on Facebook is The Business of Drumming. So you can look that up and ask to join.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mary, for joining us today.
Yeah.
I learned a lot, and I hope everybody else is taking notes, because that's great information that you just provided everyone, and so happy that you were able to make it on today.
Thank you so much. I say collaboration is our superpower and appreciation is our medicine. So let's go out and create more of that in the world. And I really appreciate you, Kay Michelle.
Yeah, thank you so much. You're an angel. Yeah. Oh, this is wonderful. Great information. Thank you so much for being on today. And everybody, you can follow this podcast at #PowerOfPercussionPodcast, or you can go to Drumsmart LLC and catch us there, or on YouTube at Drumsmart LLC. Thank you all, and have a beautiful day. And thank you, Mary, and I hope you have a beautiful day as well.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.